for growth. And we thought we'd talk a little bit about, kind of just bat it back and forth, the idea of research in developing your content.
Where we discuss all things business, including growth, strategy,
Well,
and
how's it going,
execution,
Beastmode?
as well as personal
Man,
and
we are
professional
both
development.
tired from it.
Let's
A
join
crazy
Howie and
work week,
Beastmode
but,
in conversation.
You know, this is so much life-giving. I know to me and to so many others. So I'm ready to jump back into your job search. It looks like we're going to talk about relationships.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I think you know more than you and Dustin and Dennis especially, and then my wife know more than anybody. Kind of my job search journey and how important relationships are. Right now, of course, in this moment, I'm talking about the encouragement side and the support side, but there are a lot of relationship angles that are very beneficial during the job search. So yeah, we can dive right in.
Yeah.
So job search relationships, this is really focused on finding and engaging recruiters and company hiring managers and beyond. And again, remember that from a support network standpoint, definitely be okay sharing, and getting that support on the not even job search advice necessarily only, but also just letting people know, hey, I'm having a bad day, and you guys were just really there for me. And so I think people need to before we get into the tactics, think about having a little bit of a network that you can tap for some encouragement along the way as well.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. So important.
hmm So recruiter network. So first of all, building a recruiter network using LinkedIn is a really important thing to do. Recruiters are trusted insiders with hiring managers, and you aren't. And they have access to both posted and unposted jobs. So I really intentionally, during my job search, built out a recruiter network. I have it all on a CRM now, but I think 279 recruiters that are in my CRM that I can email blast out at a moment's notice now. And this is over several months that I did this. But one thing that you can do on LinkedIn is you can search for LinkedIn for the type of recruiter that would fit your situation. So a medical recruiter. So you could, for example, look at nursing recruiters, right? You could type in nursing recruiter or medical recruiter, allied health recruiter, IT recruiter, sales recruiter. And if you type that in, as you can see, there's quite a few results here when you do that. What you can do, there's some really good tactics that you can do. So you can send a LinkedIn connection request with a personalized note mentioning your availability and the type of role that you're seeking to the recruiter. So the first step is, doing the search, and then you find a particular person, like this guy's name is Todd, and you send Todd a personal LinkedIn connection request with a little message about what you're looking for, and also offering a chat. And so because you're offering to provide a connection, and recruiters want to have big networks, they usually will accept they will always accept your connection 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, it's a little trick because they want to have a big network because it gives them access to more people. But you get to send a little commercial in the acceptance, or pardon me, in the invitation message, which is great. Then you can look up their email address. Now, recruiters sometimes will have their email address on their profile under the contact information. So those are really nice. You can send them an email instead of just relying on this little short message here. You can send them an email after you do this and provide your resume and hopefully some work samples to their email as well, right? And then a little bonus would be and I'll probably cover this later, but if you see a phone number, it's always good to leave them a voicemail. Let them hear your friendly voice and let them know that you're human, and there's that connection that you get from that. There's also, if you are not sure of their email address, you can utilize tools like email-checker.net or hunter.io to help double check what you think their email address might be, and even to do some simulations to come up with it. I probably, in the entire several months that I was looking for a job during the pandemic, there's probably only like one email address that I could never find. I think it's literally the number one. So, I reached out to tons of people and didn't have a big problem with it. Add each recruiter to your CRM and connect to a lot of them, right? So I had, at the time of this snapshot, I had 258 contacts in my recruiter, in my CRM, okay? And now it's a little higher than that. So it's quite a bit, because now I can really reach out to them, and they've got a lot of, as we talked about here, they have access to a lot of jobs because they're talking to, 7 or 8 different hiring managers. And so think about that. So 7 hiring managers, and if I have this many, recruiters, that's, that's a lot. I don't know what 7 times 258, right? So it's probably
1750.
1750. Geez. So that gives me access to a lot of companies by sort of tapping the recruiters. So use a CRM. Again, we talked about that earlier in an earlier module. You should go listen to that, but use a CRM like HubSpot or something, because you'll be glad you're organized. Email your resume, a cover letter, what you're looking for, and offer a 10-minute introductory chat. A lot of them will have that screening chat with you. A lot of them will do that, but at least you offered. Add a task to your CRM to follow up in a few days. You shouldn't be a one-hit wonder. You should use a little bit of discipline, a little bit of process, and follow up. And that's just the way to go. Is you stay consistently in front of them. Now, this is a little trick. So Beastmode knows a lot about this process here. So I'd be interested in your thoughts on this kind of discipline. But what I did was I ran all my recruiters. So I had a lot of recruiters here. I ran them through a pre-planned, pre-written set of email templates. I think I had 12 or 13 total. But basically send them kind of like one every maybe 3 business days, something like that. You don't want to have too much gap, but you also don't want to hammer them too often either. And then in order, you just send template 1, template 2, template 3. Now I paid for an automation within HubSpot. I spent a lot of money to do that. There's an easier way to do it with something called Klenty, Klenty, which we talked about for a moment on the in an earlier module of this class, I guess you would call it. But you want to really use a bunch of different emails to keep in touch with them. And what you'll notice is that they start to admire your creativity and your follow-up and your discipline. And I had people telling me that they had never seen anything like it. It doesn't mean I'm awesome. It just means I followed a process. I created these pre-written email templates, and everyone got a personal one. Every 3 or 4 days, they would get the next message. And so as they would run into a new job, they would think of me because I'm top of mind, and because they kind of admired the follow-up, and some of my stuff was like even humorous. It wasn't all just super serious stuff. But you've had some luck and experience, Beastmode, using sort of these multiple educational campaign approaches. So would you agree that sort of approach is helpful?
Yeah, they're definitely helpful, especially to a market that's not used to getting stuff like that. You stand out, and it takes a huge weight. Whenever we've talked about it in the past, outside of these modules, we've talked about it. It gives you the opportunity to hone your creativity into this moment, and then allow that creativity to function over time. And so I don't have to try to be creative every single day with a new email. I've created 3 spectacular emails, and they're awesome. And so I'm just going to let those 3 do the work to my 258 contacts and let it stand out on its own.
Absolutely. You bet. And that way, yeah, you're really benefiting from, following. You sort of invent the process one time and you get to reuse it a lot, but they get to feel like it's personal to them. So, yeah.
I'll tell you though, just even this first page is, I can guarantee you, way outside the box of what most people thought you were going to go down. Page 1. It's very counterintuitive to what you think you should be doing. You think you should be applying for jobs, what you do. You think you should be connecting to CEOs, which you should. But again, just this approach of I'm not going to wait for the recruiter to come to me. I'm going to be proactive. Again, I'm going to get in their pocket as soon as possible and allow them to help kind of carry the load. It's really smart.
Well, for me, it was, based on desperation because I am, my wife does have a job, but I am the primary breadwinner and I have two kids in school. And what am I going to do? I know how
Yeah.
to sell and I know how to follow up and I know how to be organized. So if I'm willing to sacrifice and spend the hours, then I should do it. If I know what to do, I should apply that, if you're in sales. But you don't, if you're listening to this and you're not in sales, you don't have a hall pass because we're showing you how to do this. Like, don't
Yeah.
say, well, I'm not in sales, so Brian had or Howie had an advantage. Literally the time that I took to build this deck, which is 150 slides, is so that people who don't have the experience can be okay. Because I want, we want you to be okay, and so you should
Yeah.
use these steps.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to use the excuses that I'm not creative enough to do this. Well, what you and what we're doing now is
Mhm.
we're boosting actually your creativity opportunities, because now you're not having to use your creativity. So maybe you're not a sales guy, you're a marketing guy, or you're a nurse or whatever. Well, we're doing, Howie's showing you how to do all these other things so you can spend all your creativity in writing these emails,
Mm.
all your creativity, because everything else has already been thought of for you and outlined for you. And so then you can use that creative juice in the sniper type areas that you have to.
Yeah, the nursing example is great. I mean, I realized that as a maybe right out of college nurse, right, or as someone who got laid off, or you're looking to upgrade or whatever it may be. Um, I understand your training is more medical, or if you're not quite to the nurse level, but you're in the allied health field, you're a nurse assistant, you're one of the allied health jobs. Um, these are steps you can follow, and some of the content that I wrote was about my field. So I would write things in those email templates about, hey, here's something that I tried, was really helpful in my field, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm feeding them, 12 in this case, pre-planned stories and examples, and they're getting my resume again every time too. So yeah,
Yeah.
we all judge ourselves, we're all insecure sometimes, but we just want to encourage you to use these steps. This is free. I probably will sell it, by the way, one day, but on this podcast it's free. And so we just want you to make sure to have the confidence to try it on, to bet, kind of to bet on you, right?
Yeah.
Next thing is to notify your network and ask for leads. Beast Mode is way better about social media than I am. I'm only on LinkedIn, and even that, not as much lately because I'm too busy. I'm never on Facebook. I don't even know how to log into my Instagram. But he knows how to use your network, right? So he'll talk about that in a second too. But one thing that you can do is manually, obviously social is better, but you can manually let your friends and family know about your job search, right? So I did do that.
Mm-hmm.
Post your job need to social media as appropriate, but definitely LinkedIn. I mean, that's where people really are in the career thought process. But what's your
Yeah.
thoughts though about some of the other social media types, and some ways to maybe use or not use that?
Yeah, I think it's helpful to post exactly what you're looking for. Just like we've talked about in the past in some of the business strategy sessions, a lot of people have started using social media, Facebook, Twitter specifically, not as much Instagram, as basically a search engine. And so they'll say, anybody know a good mechanic? Anybody know somebody hiring? Anybody looking for a job? My job's hiring. And so now you can begin searching for that. And so whether you're the one looking for a job, you can type that in. And again, just because the company didn't post it doesn't mean that Susie down the street didn't. She may say, hey, anybody looking for a job? My hospital's hiring 5 nurses. Well, now I got, not only do I have an in, now I got a referral, you know, Susie over here, you know, and I can put that on my application, you know.
Smart.
And so, and maybe Susie will go tell the hiring manager, hey, you know, my friend over here, she's awesome, get her in here, you know. And so again, using it more like a search engine is really helpful. So being clear on what you're looking for, because again, recruiters will go and look there too, but not as much as LinkedIn. But then the same way is when you're looking, it'll pull up your friends and people in your network who have posted just in random, you know.
So smart. Yeah, and I didn't even do that. That would have been great.
Yeah.
That would be really good. Yeah, because you could search. So some of you guys know that we do little business, little business and entrepreneurial chats with people, and then we podcast that as well. And so one of the famous things that I have learned from Beast Mode is that search engine approach. We talked to somebody maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and she has a really cool t-shirt business. And Beast Mode told her to search Facebook for people who needed custom t-shirts or something like that. One of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a neat idea. And I hadn't thought of that for the job side.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
So a periodic public job search heads up post, and also one-on-one outreach via LinkedIn messaging, asking for help is good. Just periodically letting people know that you're on the job hunt, because they only see only a few people, because the algorithm kind of picks and chooses who gets to see what. So you want to post that you're looking more than once.
Yeah. If you do
Yep.
If you do it on LinkedIn, do it with a video.
Smart.
Put your whatever. Hey guys, I'm currently in the market. I'm looking for a nurse practitioner role in the DFW area, preferably at a local facility or private practice, right? Put that in as your, you type that in, but then get on the screen for 30 seconds. Hey guys, this is Beast Mode. I love working at hospitals. Patients are my business, and 20 seconds. Let a recruiter see that. Now they've seen you, they heard you, you're not just words on a page.
Yeah, that's smart. I love that. And you can reuse the same video on your Instagram and your Facebook.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Yeah, love that. Cool. That's very innovative. Checking beneath the surface. You can use friendships and connections at a company to do checks about what the company is like to work for. So the reason why I say this is I have been burned before, back 7 or 8 years ago now, by a pretty bad situation, a pretty bad work-life situation. And I wish someone would have told me about, the conditions of that place. And too long to talk about. But I could, if I would have known about this move, I could have checked people who I used to know that work at that company, and I could ask about that hiring manager. I could ask about the conditions of the job. Here's a move that I've done multiple times. Often, people you don't even know, but who used to work at that company will actually talk to you.
So true.
I've been warned off of companies before through that.
Yeah, you got to filter it because they're not working there for a reason too.
I mean, that's true too. Yeah. But I talked in that one case, I talked to 2 people who told me about that management style for that particular individual, and they had real concerns about that. And so yeah, I'm really glad that I listened to the.
What site do you use?
I use LinkedIn for that, and I basically did a search of people who used to work at that company.
Have you heard of Glassdoor?
Glassdoor is good too, but it's more anonymous. But it is a great way to. I probably have Glassdoor in here actually. I should, at least. If I don't, then I need to add it. But yeah, Glassdoor is a great one to
surface level. It's a great way to get a snapshot of, I mean, it's like Yelp. You'll get a snapshot, You'll get a snapshot of exactly what that restaurant is. You go to Yelp.
Yes, I love that.
Same thing if you go to Glassdoor.com.
Love that. Yes. Yeah, you're making me double check, and I want to make sure that's in here. I hope so, but
If not, we said it.
I did use it. Yeah, sure. Getting referred by a relationship connection. When you do find an open role at a company, go to the company page on LinkedIn, and you can see if you have any connections at that company. Like I did for this particular company, I saw that I had a lot of connections there. If you do, reach out to them and see if they will refer you for that job and help you get an interview. This is a great way to get out of the bottom of their resume pile. So what this means is close to 100% of the time, if I was, if I knew there was a position that I was qualified for, and I, I would go check and see if I knew someone at the company, and I would have them submit my resume instead of me doing it on the internet. Because first of all, they might get a referral bonus from that, which is nice. But then also, companies take it more seriously if an internal employee refers you than just somebody who's hitting the website. And so, yeah, here's the tip there. Internal employees often get a referral bonus for helping the company find a new employee. Not a bad idea to share that tactic with them. And that also makes them a little more evangelistic about pushing you too. So getting attention, like our little picture of the owl here, funny. One of the things that I did was I would apply, and I did this probably, I may have done this 10 times, let's say, I don't know. I did quite a few times, but find the most senior executive in the department you're trying to interview for. So in my case, I was going for sales management roles. So I might go to the chief revenue officer or VP of sales kind of thing. And, I would find out who that was. I would then send them a LinkedIn in-mail message noting that I applied online for a role. And this is in cases where I didn't know anybody at the company. I would share reasons they should make sure that I at least got an initial interview. And this worked at least 1/3 of the time. Think about it. This is a cold call. Well, it's really cold, sort of email. Yeah. But it's cold, and it's to a senior leader of the company. And I had that high of a rate of people help me to at least get to the first base, right? That's a big deal. Another idea is send them a personal outreach and a handcrafted message sharing some insights for them, right? So people kind of judge you by the quality of your insights, by the quality of your questions, and by the quality of your stories. I'm just kind of making that up on the fly here. But whatever you can do to send a personal message to them that unpacks a cool story. I did this multiple times. I would unpack maybe a certain business problem that I solved, and in the message, and I'd ask them, can you please help me at least get to the first interview? I'm not asking for a free lunch. I just want one interview. Give me a shot. In one case, I spent 3 hours thinking up insights for this particular company. So this particular company does outsource technical support. And so I read all through their website. I read through competitor websites. I read news. And then I just sat I sat kind of with my laptop, and I just kind of closed my eyes after I did all this reading. And I just thought about what would I do if I was going to help them improve their business in the area of sales, right? And I came up with basically like 5 different approaches, and I wrote them up. And I went right to the CEO, and I got the interview with the CEO, and I got fast tracked through the process. In fact, I would have gotten that job, but the board unfortunately replaced the CEO within days of when I would have gotten an offer. So everything he had been planning was kind of put on hold. But it just shows you the progress that I made.
Yeah.
Find the recruiter for the role you're looking for, or reach out to multiple listed recruiters. So what I did as well is whenever I would apply on LinkedIn or other types of like Indeed or other job search websites, I would apply, but that also look up on LinkedIn who the recruiter is likely to be, and I would reach out to them personally looking for that. So that way I'm again trying to put myself closer to the top of the stack. These are all tactics. You can pause these, screenshot these. I mean, these are all there's nothing that I'm doing that's special. This is just a check.
If the job's on LinkedIn, you know what I'm saying? If you can find the job on LinkedIn, there is a way where you can share the job like to your network, right? But I would share it with a personalized note to like the VP of sales and say, I'm looking for this job, and then you could tag, because then you can start tagging people. You can tag the overall company, then you can tag the recruiter, you can tag everybody and say,
Smart.
I want in here,
Smart.
and it's another way.
It's a great idea.
Because sometimes, again, we've talked about this too. Sometimes in-mails can be very abrasive. Cold anything can sometimes come off abrasive, whereas getting tagged in a post, totally different feel. You feel invited, you feel warm, you feel like there's an opportunity to join in,
I like that.
And really,
a lot.
people want to come to your savior. So when you tag the VP of sales and you tag the CEO and you tag the recruiter, that recruiter, like, you don't want the recruiter doesn't want the CEO to respond to that. And so the recruiter will respond. Ideally, because if the CEO responds, the recruiter's like, well, what are you doing, recruiter? So.
Yeah, I think it's another reason why I like that is the recruiters and the company will really appreciate you promoting their job.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. People always like free, publicity for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a nice way of giving. I like that.
Yeah.
A ton.
Yeah. And you can get in multiple things at one time. You can get in the company overall. Maybe I already got somebody lined up for that one, but there's another one right over here, but different person. Just pull you over there. You can also get noticed by top to bottom,
And I haven't seen anybody try that. That's great.
And other people in your network may see it and be like, man, if they don't want that guy, I do.
Oh yeah.
Let me know if freaking McAfee doesn't call you, Howie. Over here at Microsoft, we're ready to take you.
We're ready. Love that.
So
that's awesome. Yeah, that is really cool because you are showing the hustle and the creativity and the just a neat attitude. Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Very, very smart. During my job search, I had success at least twice using creativity in writing up the online application. For example, I interviewed with a really cool startup that I like to this day, by the way, called Strong DM. They do security stuff. Their online application gave me space to share openly and write whatever I wanted, but they also had some structured questions. But in the open space, I took the time to write up something that I thought was funny and cool, where I used, Star Wars, and I used some humor in telling about myself. And they said it was the best application that they received, and they had to interview me because of it. They said everybody who looked at it said it was the best one, and they had to talk to me.
Cool.
And literally, I took myself out of the running for that job because they said, the senior executive said, this is what the job is right now. Is that right in line with what you're thinking, or what's your passion? And I told them my passion is kind of over here, and they're like, okay, we're not hiring that right now, but thanks for being honest. So we kind of parted. I kind of did it to myself. I could actually already have that job, but I was honest about where my passion was and where my skill set was. But anyway, the point is, it worked, and I got this happened a couple of times using sort of fun writing and humor and creativity a little bit, because that's endearing. That's kind of endearing if someone is going to put themselves out there a little bit. So yeah, these other two bullet points just kind of support that. So yeah, kind of covers that. This is the CEO response to looks like there's more than 5 ideas here, actually. This is the one I was telling you about, that this particular company that does outsourced support I spent some time thinking about their company and their solution, and I literally created these two. And maybe it's cut off and there's really more, but I created
Yeah.
all these ideas for them.
Yeah.
And he thanked me for my insights.
There it is.
He said, this guy Rick said, I appreciate the trace and follow up. I will share your email and thoughts. Thanks again for sharing your insights. This is the CEO of a good sized company who
Yeah.
called my cold email insights, right? And
Yeah.
he fast tracked me. So my point is, this type of going above and beyond, of literally thinking about his business as though it mattered to me, and as though I had, so think about this. If I would have said to myself, I mean, I got laid off during the pandemic, right? So it's kind of a downtime, kind of a shot to your confidence too. Even though sure, everybody's getting laid off, it doesn't really help. The animal part of your brain just, you can excuse it all you want, but you still got laid off.
Yeah.
So, if I wouldn't have bet on myself and thought about all these different ideas and reach out to the CEO, then none of this would happen. But this is an incredible response.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about this, but DMing top executives on LinkedIn after applying.
Yeah.
So here's one where I guess I was extra interested in it. And so I looked up the senior most executive, and I reached out to Marjorie, and I blanked out her names for anonymous. But I kind of gave her a nice write-up on some insights to get the interview.
Yeah.
And I did get this interview and others. Like I said, I did this multiple times, maybe 10 times. I really don't know. I didn't really count. I kept track of my tactics, but not like the counts as much.
Yeah.
Here's an executive response as well to an insight approach. So here's what I did. So this is a North Texas-based software company in the automotive space. And I literally, to make this job happen for myself, I actually called customers listed on their website. I called, I called 2 different famous body shops, like nationally well-known body shops. And I talked to them about the use of the software that this company claimed that they were using. And they said, yeah, we do use it. Here's what we're doing and all that. And then I also called their sales department, and I talked to a sales rep and pretended to be a possible buyer. And I went through their sales process. Because of that, I was able to provide sales analysis based on their customer interviews. All I did is do what they should be doing, which is talking to their customers about their experience, right?
Yeah.
And I provide these insights. And then I talked to their sales team down here, and I got all these different critiques. It was a terrible sales call. It was terrible. And so in one page, I put my little picture on here and made this look like it's some sort of an official, almost like I work for Accenture or something, like I'm doing an analysis, blah, blah, blah. This is just some unemployed guy who made 3 phone calls, 2 to customers, 1 to a sales rep, and documented. I did spend hours coming up with a format and making it look nice and having categories and all that. But seriously, this is me just documenting what I experienced in 3 phone calls. That's all this really is. And I'm calling it, this analysis. And so here is this guy. This is the managing director, which is a bit like a CEO for, if you guys know what a managing director is, it's kind of like it's above a VP. It's more like the business. It's like the general manager of the whole business, right? And so this guy responded and said he reviewed it and discussed with the team. He ghosted me after this and never would respond again. But I got the response from let's just call it a CEO.
Yeah.
And plus, here's, by the way, and what my wife and I always like to say is hard work is never lost, because I got to use this anonymized document to show sales analysis to many other companies. This became one of my sales assets that I then would send along with my resume to hundreds of people over the next several months. So did I lose anything by this? No, I got a little smarter by doing the work, right? I grew, okay. And I got to use it as a sales asset to talk about myself, right? And so you could do that if you're a nurse candidate. You could talk about, here's, it's my suggestions on improving XYZ quality of care, and here's what I've experienced. And you could write that up in a one pager yourself, whatever your field is. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of that's a little example there. And I think, to recap, how to leverage relationships. There's sort of a lot in this module, so you'll have to go back and pause screens and think about it. And I think with any of these modules, Beast Mode, no one's got to do all of it. I mean, guys, I had 8.5 months on my hands. Pandemic was not a great time to find a job, especially if you're trying to stay a manager, which I stubbornly decided to do, because I could have been a sales rep probably 3 times earlier than that, but I decided to stay a manager for all kinds of reasons. And so, you don't have to try everything. I think the point of this is to inspire people that there's a lot of creative approaches in the mundane job search world.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for this module.
Yeah, and I guess my takeaway would be just like as you're talking, I give my own 2 cents. This is what I would do. Would not do the email message. That's my style. But there's a different tactic. There's a different avenue for that. Some people don't. Some recipients don't particularly like that. They would rather have the more private email. But from my take and what I've seen, the evolution of social media, people love it. They want to get tagged. They want to get called out. They want to come to the rescue, because then, imagine if 2,000 people will see your post and the CEO comes and saves the day. Doing that crap nowadays.
Yeah, there's so much diversity of ideas and so many different tactics. What I would say to that is I'd like them to try some things they're uncomfortable with and push themselves a little bit. But I think what I would do to bridge the gap is to say probably do a little both.
Yeah.
If my personality is too introverted to do a lot of the public stuff like talking, then I should be pushing myself to do that, right? And if someone is, if someone is very extroverted and doesn't like the intimacy of the DM, then they should probably push themselves and do that. And I think that way they can benefit from multiple, styles and approaches. But I mean, I wish I would have had somebody tell me that, because I probably would have pushed myself. I was desperate enough for sure. I probably would have pushed myself to go ahead and try that approach for sure.
Yeah. So make sure you're doing something. Find an approach. Do something.
Absolutely. Well, next time we'll talk about job search branding. As you can see here, this is a great area that great area for Beast Mode. So he'll be super active. And we'll keep on plowing through. I think we have 8 modules. I want to say there's quite a bit more. So hopefully, you guys can benefit from it. And I don't know that this is necessarily for a minimum wage job or a warehouse job. This is probably more for a job where you want to get paid more and you want to have a little bit more, a little bit higher end jobs. So if you know somebody who needs to be going for higher end jobs and needs to bet on themselves a little bit more, then definitely send them our way to watch these podcasts.
Yeah, tag them in it or share it with them or whatever. But for sure, great stuff, Howie.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for helping out and joining in and helping all these good people.
Man. Go have dinner with your family.
As we were prepping and kind of letting the cards unfold, we were talking and we said, you know what? We've gone through sales and what stretching is.